Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint this garden gate. It's going to be kind of some stonework, and we're going to work on some perspective and how to do some really easy greenery. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'll show you step by step how to do it from start to finish. Got my husband, Mark, with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's man in chat tonight, so if you've got questions while I'm painting, you can ask those down in chat, and I'll try to answer. Let's get started. Alrighty, so I'm using a 9x12 inch canvas tonight. This is a Fredrix mixed media canvas board. Haven't done anything special to it. It's already ready to go. I'm going to spray it with a little bit of water while I talk about my brushes and things. That just kind of helps activate the fibers of the canvas and get it ready to paint on. You're going to want some large flats for or brights. The brights are just shorter flats. Flat would be up to here, and this is a bright that's a little bit shorter. I've got a 12 and an 8 Summit from Princeton, and I've also got, well, this is a flat, so you can see the difference. Number 4 flat and a number 6 bright in their Aspen series from Princeton. And then I've also got a number 2 bright, which is a little shorter for some of the stonework and different things. Number 2 round. And then for the greenery, you're going to want a stippler of some sort. So some sort of brush that's got a little bit of fuzz to it. And I've just got a couple of different sizes to work with here. So just grab whatever you've got that's similar. These are Deerfoot stipplers, and these ones are called blenders from the VelvetTouch, and this is the Select. All brushes that I'm using today are Princeton brushes. They're our brush sponsor, so thank you to them, and thank you to Fredrix, our canvas sponsor, for providing our canvas too. All the materials that I'm using are linked down in the description, so there's places to buy and help support our channel through your purchases. Doesn't cost you anything extra, but it helps us, so we appreciate it. All right, 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch angle, and then a 2 round, 4 round, and a 2/0 script liner. So I'm not sure I'm going to use all these brushes, but I've got them just in case. Let's go over our colors. I've got carbon black, burnt umber, burnt sienna, quinacridone burnt orange, yellow oxide, cadmium yellow light, phthalo green blue shade. You could use yellow shade too, it doesn't really matter. Ultramarine blue and unbleached titanium. This is titanium white, good amount. And then a little bit of zinc white. I'm not sure if we'll need it, but I think maybe for this kind of area back here where there's a glow, we might want the transparent white. And then I've got some glazing liquid. So let's get going here. All right, so to start with, let's just go ahead and kind of go over the drawing of the arch and everything. I kind of started to draw it out in chalk, but it's pretty easy, so I'll just go over it really quickly with you. So I'm going to use a little bit of burnt umber, quinacridone burnt orange, something light, and the arch is offset a little bit from center, so it's not quite on the third, but it's a little bit offset, and it takes up most of the space. So you're going to come up a pretty, maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches here, and just kind of do your foreground. My canvas is a little bit wet. I'm just going to blot it. There we go. It's dripping. I don't want it dripping. I sprayed it twice. I should have only sprayed it once, probably. Okay, there we go. All right, so there's our foreground here. And then our arch is going to be right in here, and it's going to come up almost to the top. So it's going to be like right up in here. And however big you want it to be, it doesn't really matter. We're just going to come in like that. And then on this side, a little bit of the inside of the arch showing. So right about up in here, we're going to see just a little bit of that inside. But down here where you might, see this angle, this is all going to be greenery down here. So we won't really have to worry too much about the drawing being, just exact or anything. Make sure this is kind of more straight though. So there's our kind of basic arch. If you want to, you can check your lines by just splitting it in half and making sure that, you've got it looking right, and then darkening up, any lines that you need to darken. And then there's a little part of the brick that comes up like this and around, just kind of about the same distance away, all the way around like that. And that's about right, because then that leaves us a little bit of space. Our greenery is going to cover most of this area, so that's about right. We might bring this down just a little bit more and bring this down just a little bit more, but we'll see when we get going. And then our greenery, like I said, is going to come off here, and it's going to be all in through here. This arch has another, like a little, this gateway has got a little section right here that you can see. And then there's a wall here or something that is, you know, really pretty close to the top of this arch right here. So it comes up like this a little bit, and this will all be green. All of this will be ivy, and we'll see just a little bit of the stone here. This will all be stone, and then our ivy is going to come down at an angle like this and off and over this whole area and over here, and then about the same distance away here. We're going to be doing our, continue this arch down this way. And I've kind of shifted it over just a little bit because there's like a building and some other stuff over here that I'm just going to leave out. I'm not going to worry about it. So I kind of shifted the image, cropped it just a little bit. I didn't crop the image you're looking at though. So, and there's a tree here too. I may or may not put in the tree. I'm not sure. We'll see when we get to it, if we feel like we need it. This will all be greenery here. And then in our distance here, we're going to go about halfway up the arch, about halfway up or so. And that's going to be our far distant. And it's right up against this edge here. So there's a little bit of a stone something here showing. And then it actually goes up even higher. I'm trying to see, this stone thing kind of comes down just a little bit. So that's our distant, kind of right about the halfway mark or so, a little bit smaller, and then it angles back and just kind of zigzags all the way across like that. So from this corner out to here, wherever our distance is, and that's going to be our kind of vanishing point. So our vanishing point's probably like right in here. So if you line that up like that, you'd get your vanishing point. And then we've got another post that's on this side that's yeah, right in here. And then there's some greenery coming down right there. There's another little something right in here, can't really tell. And then there's a big bush right here. Okay, so that'll be our drawing. Let's get to painting. I'm going to grab my large brush here. And there's a tree over here and stuff, but I think I'm just going to kind of do some random stuff in the sky. I don't think I'm going to really worry about having it be any really detailed, because our garden, the arch is our main focus here. So I'm going to make it the star of the show here. So I'm going to make a light blue. Got an ultramarine blue and a little bit of that almost turquoise. It's the phthalo green.
Quick question.
Blue shade. Sorry.
So you said your big brush. Which brush is that exactly?
This is a 12 bright.
12 bright. Excellent.
Yes. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of fill in the sky there. And I'm going to go ahead and use white and fill in this part as well. We're going to put greenery and things in front of this, but I want this value to be fairly light, so I'm going to go ahead and go back over this with a little bit more white, because I don't want it too dark in the sky here. It's kind of washed out. So that looks good. And this looks pretty good here. Just make sure it's pretty white. And then down here, I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit more white, maybe a little bit of my yellow I grabbed a little unbleached titanium, but that's not yellow enough. So I'm going to got a little tiny bit of my yellow and a lot more white. I can tell already I'm going to need a lot more white than this. I've already run out of white. And I'm just going to pull up and into my sky while that sky is still a little bit wet and just kind of blend it out and make it like this hazy kind of green. And I'm going to do some in here too. And if this is already dry, you can just go over it with a little bit of this color, kind of like leaves or something, but we're just trying to do kind of a light green. This area back here is going to fade away if we keep everything really light. So I'm going to grab some brown now, burnt umber, and I'm adding it to my blue from the sky. I don't want to use up all my blue though, so I'm going to get a little bit of that ultramarine blue so I don't. There we go. Because I want this to be kind of a blue-gray here, but not as blue as the sky. And I'm going to use that to do our pathway. And I'm going to go a little bit darker than the pathway here. And then we'll go over it with some white, some lighter areas too. So I'm just going to kind of pull this way and fill in this whole pathway. And even going to fill in down here too. I forgot to mention right here, this kind of comes out in this way. So and there's a little bit of a dark shadow right in here. Let's go ahead and get to black. And I'll just kind of mark that right where that doorway is. Okay. Or path starts or whatever that is there. Don't know. As usual, big on the words here. Big on words. I can just learn all kinds of stuff.
That's why they tune in.
I know.
For all the technical content we bring them.
Yeah. Lots of good technical terms. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and use this one. This is the 8 bright, so it's a little bit smaller. And I'm going to I need water first. Get my white. And a little bit of that gray. So I've got a lighter gray here, and I want to go over this path, and it's still wet, so I'm just going to kind of streak it back and forth over the top of that. And just leave a little bit of shadows here and there, but just kind of using the corner of my brush here to streak it back and forth and go kind of light above that dark area right on that threshold right there. A little bit. And then I'm going to get a little bit of that black and do the same thing with the black. So just kind of streak it through. And by doing this while everything's wet, it'll just kind of blend everything a little bit and just be a little bit softer looking. So just kind of dabbing it through that wet paint. And if I keep it kind of horizontal, I got a little angle there, so I need to get everything a little bit more squared up there. I had my holding my canvas there at an angle, got a little crooked.
I mean, at this point, you could just turn it into like a stream, run it through an archway, be done.
That's true. Put a little blue pep, put some rocks in, and we're done.
Yeah. See? Every time you sketch out with paint like that, it reminds me of some of the like pre-sketches that we've seen at some of the art galleries where you'll see the finished painting, but they may have something from the artist's sketchbook. And,
right.
And it's kind of like studies. How they do it. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Studies.
Yep. Studies can be really helpful. I don't do them as much anymore, but I used to do them a lot more, when I was, especially when I would figure out colors and placements of things and stuff, especially if I was like changing the composition at all, or playing with the colors to, make them. I'm adding black around the edges here, you can see. But yeah, it can be really helpful to kind of get an idea of what things are going to do before you jump right in onto a canvas, because canvases can be expensive. So working on paper or, a cheaper canvas or something, can really be helpful. that way. Okay, so I'm just going to there's some dappled light here, so I'm just going to kind of use the corner of my brush and so tap in a few little random things there. And then there's some dark. And it gets pretty light as it goes up, but right here there's a pretty good dark area. Where that bush is going to be. I'll get a little green, a little bit of brown. And here's what I meant when I was saying that the green doesn't matter, because you're going to be mixing other colors with it. You're not going to be using that color straight up. So if you want your green to be a little bit more yellow, you just add a little bit more yellow to that blue green to get it. So more than I'll be using, you know. Okay, so a little bit darker green here for that bush. That's kind of a, and it's actually going all the way up to this archway, so I'm going to bring it up. I just realized it's not quite big enough. It's actually all the way up to here. And it comes out to, it comes out about almost halfway between this and this. So it comes out a fairly good amount. And that's what's going to push this back too. By having this large thing up in front over the top of it, then it's going to push back the things that are back in this far distance. And also what pushes it back is by using a lighter color. So I'm going to get some of the light green that's from over here and use it back in here. So I'll mix in this color that I was just using with that lighter green. There's a post here, but I'll put it in later. For now, I'm just going to worry about the greenery.
Got a question.
Okay.
The difference between carbon black and Mars black.
Okay.
What is it?
They're really pretty similar, so you can pretty much use them interchangeably. They're not that different. Mars black is a little bit less shiny, maybe, but they're both about the same saturation or same darkness, same tone of black. They're both pretty good true blacks. I'm getting a little bit of the yellow oxide here. I think I got a little bit of the ultramarine blue too, and some burnt umber here. And I'm going to get some white. And I just want to make kind of more of a sage green. This is getting kind of teal. I'm going to use the sage green. And just, this is dry now, so I can paint over it without lifting anything. It's been setting so long that if I wasn't careful, if it wasn't dry, it would actually lift off. So you gotta make sure that that part is dry before you do this. And it feels a little sticky, so I'm going to go ahead and wait on that and not do too much more to it for now. Okay, so let's go back to this green here. I'm going to get a little bit of the get a little bit of burnt umber and a little bit of the burnt sienna, some of the yellow oxide. That'll make a nice neutral green. I want to make it a little bit darker, so I'm going to get a little bit black. Burnt umber, a little bit of that green. I'll just use that back here. And I'm just going to tap along that edge. We don't have to do anything fancy to it right now. We're going to be tapping in color on top of it later, so it'll all fill in, and then over in here too. Can just do a nice dark area down here. And then I need to do this arch before I do any more greenery because it's in front of the greenery's on top of it. So, all right, so for the arch, I'm going to go ahead and do really dark and go, and what I'm looking at when I'm deciding my color is the cracks. So however dark your cracks on the stonework is how dark I want to go with this. And they're pretty dark. They're pretty close to black. So I'm going to do black and burnt umber here. And you can tell too, hopefully, that we're not being too precious about our lines at this point. We're just throwing that paint on there. Really, at this point, this first layer, you're just trying to get the paint down. Don't get too tied up or caught up with the exact colors or placement or that kind of thing. You just kind of try to get it kind of generally in the right place, and generally kind of the darker of the values, either the dark to mid-tones. That's kind of how I usually go. On the walkway, I kind of did a little bit more detail because it's going to be pretty simple. So I didn't need to go into too much detail, but I should have done the sky over here. I forgot. So I'm going to hopefully have some of that black blue left from the sky. I forgot I was going to change it up. I didn't do the... I mean, I guess I could do the building over here, but I don't know. Because, I don't know. I think it's fine. We'll just do... This is definitely really dark, so all of this underneath the green is really dark. So I'm using black here. But this is going back to what I was saying about, not getting too caught up in the details at this point. This is the point where a lot of times if you're new to painting, you can kind of get a little bit freaked out or discouraged because your brain's going to start to scream at you that this is not right. That this doesn't look anything like the picture and you're doing it all wrong, and you'll get a lot of stuff going on in your head but you just kind of just trust the process. I'll walk you through it, the whole thing. And, as long as you kind of follow along with me and don't try to fix things at this point. Don't try to go in here and make it the way you think it should look at this point. Just do what I'm doing here. We'll get you there. I think that our preconceived notions of what things look like is what oftentimes kind of trip us up when we're doing art, because our subconscious starts to kind of scream at us that we're not doing it the way it's supposed to look, and those those images that your subconscious has stored were stored probably when you were 5 or 6 and just learning language, so they're going to be really rudimentary, just symbols for whatever tree's supposed to look like or whatever. And so when you draw or paint an actual tree the way you're seeing it, your brain's going to tell you you're not doing it right, because that's not what is stored in your psyche or whatever, in your left side of your brain there, or wherever you store the images for what things look like. Like if you closed your eyes is what I'm saying. Like if you closed your eyes and pictured a tree, that tree is what was stored in your brain when you learned the word tree way back when.
Oh, that's scary.
And I mean, if you've drawn a bunch of trees and you've painted a bunch of trees, then you've probably got other, images stored in there alongside that one. But for the most part, our brains are kind of lazy when it comes to that kind of thing. We don't store images, or we don't notice things. We don't notice details about things that, that we recognize. So when we're seeing something like a tree in your yard or something, where you're seeing it, you're like, yep, that's a tree, and then you move on. You don't like stop and really look at it unless you're painting it or drawing it or something. So a lot of times we don't notice the small details that make up something until we're starting to draw them. And then when we do start to draw them, then our brain's like, nope, that's not right. That's so not right, because that's not what, that kind of symbol in your brain looks like for a tree or whatever it is. I don't know. Okay, we'll stop talking about it. There's a really good book about it called Drawing on the Right Side of Your Brain that explains it a lot better than I just did.
Which you have in your Amazon store links.
I do.
And several people have bought it and got it, and they said they enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's got some really interesting science about drawing, and it's not actually physically the act of drawing that you're teaching yourself. You're teaching yourself how to see things and how to trust what you're seeing. And paint or draw or whatever, just what you're seeing and not what your brain is telling you to do. I have to disconnect from that part of your brain.
A lot of my stuff would look like cookies.
A lot of your stuff would look like cookies?
Yeah, because that's what I usually see.
When
it's like those cartoons when like everything turns to food or something.
You're on a desert island.
Yeah. Why are you looking at me like that, Bob?
Check. All right, so there's our gate. Let's go ahead and try to fill in the sky over here before it dries. Before blue paint dries. We'll see. Ooh, yay, we got some left. Plenty.
So hi, everybody.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to our little room here.
Chat-a-thon.
Yeah. It's a pleasant Tuesday here in Arkansas. Not too hot, not too cold.
Yeah, not too bad. Too shabby. It's definitely been hotter than it's comfortable to sit outside for very long, though.
Yeah.
At least for me, I don't like the heat.
Well, at least not the really sticky heat.
No. All right, so just adding a second layer there to my sky back there. Getting a little bit more of that white. And this is going to have some of that greenery from back behind this arch too. So I'm going to have to paint from back to front here to get the perspective. So I'm going to get some white now. Add that to my walkway way back there. And as it comes forward, I'm just going to darken it up a little bit, or, do less of the light. So I'm just kind of dry brushing here now. There we go. And then let's skip over here and we'll do some dry brush down here. And again, just kind of skip around. You can use the corner of your brush if you want to give it more of a mottled look, so it's not too solid right here. I'm pretty happy with that. The only place that really is getting any light is like right in here. It's like light shining through this way, I guess. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I need to get just a little bit on the path back here. I'm going to get a little bit of this darker gray green, and wherever the archway is going to be, which is kind of right in here, so I'm going to just kind of tap in across right here. I'm going to do a little bit of dark, and it doesn't have to be that dark. It's a little bit too dark. Right there, Just a little darkness. Okay, good. And then let's go ahead and use it along the edge right here. Just down from that. Comes in on the path, skip down, comes in on the path a little bit more, then skip down, comes in. Bring this up just a little bit. I feel like that came down a little too far. Right in here somewhere. Okay, there we go. See how it kind of fades in? That's what we really need. We need this to be very light and indistinct. So get a little bit more of this light green, light yellow, and use the corner of my brush and just tap in here.
We have a question.
Okay.
Somebody would like to know that if they were to do an undercoat painting, of the canvas first, what color would be a good one to use?
I always like doing like a yellow oxide, like a light yellow, or a light burnt umber, like a wash of burnt umber or something. Those usually work pretty well for this kind of thing. All right, so just pick a color that's kind of dominant in your painting, and then use that. It's always a good rule of thumb. All right, so this post is back here. I just added a little bit of that background color so that it's lightened it up. It's going down there and here. Right in there. It looks crooked, but it's not, because it's the angle of the camera. Sorry. Kind of throws things off a little bit. But make sure these are in the same plane, same height. Those two are across from each other, and then there's something right in here, probably part of the wall or something that we're seeing just a little bit of too. You can put that in there. All right. Wow, look what I did. How did I do that? I know.
I have no clue what you're talking about. But I'm reacting like, oh my.
I just got brown all over this. I lifted off the color that I just put down right there. Let's go ahead and use a little bit of this darker blue-green for the pathway that's back up in here. Put that right there, just lifted it right off. I'm just using this round brush here. This got some good texture. Okay, we'll let that set. That looks pretty good. All right, so now I want to start doing my greenery. I'm gonna go ahead and start with this brush. This is the, actually, let me think. I'm gonna do the angle brush. This is the 3/8 inch angle, and actually before I do that, I need to do this back here. Sorry. I'm gonna do, I'm just skipping around here. 3/8 inch angle, Willow's blender, or blender, it's now called.
Yeah, we didn't actually take it from her.
Right.
It's not her personal one.
It used to be called Willow's blender, but now it's just called blender.
True.
Not really really sure why, but
I like my blender better than that one. That's all I'm going to say.
you like your, I don't know what you're talking about.
The one in the kitchen.
Oh, got it. Check. Don't do that to me. Mark likes to catch me off guard. While
Keeping you
I'm
on your toes.
Yeah, he does.
We talked about this the other day.
We did talk about it the other day, about how this is his favorite thing to do. Catch me off guard while I'm trying to paint. Because my brain is not quite here. It's more an art brain. Okay.
So it puts us at a more equal level.
Equal level?
Yes.
Okay. Equals things out.
Mm-hmm.
Check. Got it. All right. So I've got burnt umber and some yellow, different yellows. Both of these yellows just mixed up kind of a couple different versions with white. And this is kind of more of a brown. And I'm going to use that kind of on the base here. And then I'm going to use the more green version over the top, just tapping it to kind of add some stippling. Go ahead and do it up pretty high. Here, there's trees and things that are pretty high up on this. And then wipe that off. And I'm going to get a little bit of the darker greens. So a little bit of the phthalo green and some yellow oxide here. And I'm going to do just a little bit of the slightly darker value, but it's still fairly light. You really don't want to go as dark back here as you got in the foreground. So keeping these values back here pretty light on the whole. And they're kind of dark down at the bottom though, I'm seeing. So I'm seeing some darkness back here where they're in the shadows. So I'm going to do just a little bit of darkness right down at the base of the walkway there. Tapping it. And I'm going to get a little bit of that white for the walkway, a little bit of the blue, so the burnt umber and brown burnt umber and ultramarine blue here for the walkway. Just make sure that I've got good highlights on that walkway there. Okay, that's good. And again, it's not looking good yet. It's going to look worse before it looks better. So just kind of know that going in, and that's okay. So we need that dark down, and now I'm going to use this light color right at the base and go just above the dark, but leave a little bit of that dark showing. See that? And then kind of get a little bit more of that white, a little bit of yellow. So these trees are in the sunlight. They got a little bit more yellow to them, and I'm gonna pop that push right in there. And I've loaded my brush fairly thick with paint so that I just barely have to touch it down. And that's the key with this kind of technique with the stippling, is you don't want to be pressing down too hard. So just kind of tapping really lightly to create some tree-like shapes. And this brush is going to do all the work for us. It's already got that texture in it, so all we have to do is kind of just barely press down. I'm going to get a little bit of this medium dark color and just add a little bit towards the bottom. And this should be just slightly darker than this very farther back stuff. I'm going to go ahead and tap in just a little bit down in here too, just a little something.
Got a quick question about paints. Somebody said that they've run out of the phthalo green yellow shade.
Okay.
So what could they substitute for it?
You could just use phthalo blue if you have it, and add yellow to it. It'll work.
Okay, but don't let that happen again.
Yes, sir. All right. And then I'm going to, I don't want to get too fussy with this background because this is kind of not our focal point, but it is kind of like a fun little tableau. So I want to get a little bit of burnt umber and some white and get a little bit of both on my brush. And I want a value that's pretty close to what these other trees are back here. So I don't want it too dark. I'm just going to put in a couple little limbs here. Just kind of coming out like that. Okay. And that's about all we're going to do back there. I'm not going to really define much of anything. I am going to kind of fix this just slightly and add a couple dots on it just kind of to indicate. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit just to indicate some stones or things there. And you could also, I just noticed there's some little bit of tree limbs back here too. You can kind of put a couple little dealies there. Okay, so that's good. This is pretty much done back here. Let's go ahead and do this guy here. I'm going to get a little bit more, the closer they get, the more saturated and the more contrast. So we've got the really nice dark background, and I'm going to go ahead and go with a little bit more saturated yellow. A little bit more yellow in my mixture. And just kind of tap that in right here. Really nice and bright up at the top of that bush. And then right here where it switches to that darker green, I'm going to get some of that green. I still had some down here that's still wet, and I'm going to make a transition color. So just mixing the highlight color with the background color and making a transition color that will transition between that really dark and the really, really bright. And I'm going to bring out this green just a little bit more right here. Let's get a little bit more of that bright green. That bright green kind of hits that whole front side that's facing the light right there. And if you can't see it against this background here, that means you probably need to make this just a little bit darker back here. So I'm going to get a little bit of my darker brown and just put a little bit of that in there. Doesn't have to be super defined, so I'm just kind of blurring out the edge, but I just want it right up against that bush so that it looks brighter in contrast to it. And that bright highlight doesn't come very far in though, so once you get that along that edge, just kind of really quickly transition to that mid-tone color. And then right in here. And in fact, I don't really have it dark enough, so I'm going to get a little bit of the black and a little bit of that green. A little bit of burnt umber, maybe. Maybe some blue. So blue, green, burnt umber, black. I still had that lighter color in here, so it's still, there we go. A little bit darker. Okay, nice bright bush right there. And then in this dark area here, I'm going to get a little bit more of that bright yellow, a little bit of white. So you can see the difference here in the intensity. It's even more bright than this green that we just did. And we're going to go right in here and do some green bushes right there. Coming up over, spilling over the pathway just a little bit. I'm kind of doing them. There we go. That's probably a little too bright, but we'll let it dry and we can always tone it down if we need to. I'm going to get a little bit of that darker green, a little bit more of the, there we go, of the phthalo green. So it's a little bit more saturated, a little bit brighter. And do it right there, okay? Then I really need that to be black though, right at the base. So I'm gonna clean that out really good. I'm gonna get a little bit smaller brush. I'm gonna get the 1/4 inch version. Spray everything real good. Get a little bit of burnt umber and black. And I'm gonna go right at the base of this tree here, or this bush, and bring that out just a little bit. And really define that a little bit better. And then I'm going to get a little bit of brown. That wasn't quite the right color. A little bit of brown with my lighter color and just kind of do some rocks right there. Okay. Just kind of dry brushing here on the pathway, adding little shadows. Okay, there we go. All right, let's do our, and that probably, no, that's sticking out about right. It should be in line with that bush there, so we're about right, I think. I still don't have this quite dark enough back there, but I'm not going to worry about it. It's all right. Not going to hurt anything. But I'm going to go ahead and highlight right here in front of this, and that will push that back, pull our foreground forward. Okay. All right. So now let's do our greenery hanging out here. I'm going to use this brush, I guess, and get some of this yellow. So it just needs to be a little bit darker than what is in front here. So actually, I think I want to use my angle brush that I started to use earlier. There we go, this one, 3/8 inch angle. I like to use that for leaves that are defined. So when you can see that it's a leaf, that's kind of this area here. I'm seeing these leaf shapes. So I'm gonna just kind of use the tip of the brush facing down and tap it to create my leaves. This ivy hanging down here. I'm going over the top of this. That's fine. You want to go right up to the edge of that. So go ahead and go over it and we'll clean it up later. It'll look better if it's actually not doesn't have a gap there. It's really hard to paint right up to this kind of painting, right up to an edge without leaving a little bit of a gap in that. We don't really want a gap. So get a little bit of dark green. Use it right at the top here for underneath, just right in the middle of where we've already done. So if you've got these clusters coming out from the wall there we go. And then there's like a really long one right here. I'm gonna get a little bit of the lighter color too, and there's like a little bit I'm going to get both colors, just like dark on one side, light on the other. And I'm going to use them right in here. Just bring that ivy down. So you have to duck down when you go through this walkway.
There's probably spiders in there.
No, there's no spiders. It's my imaginary garden. There's
Get a
really
face.
good spiders.
Get a face full of web when you walk
They're
right
not
through there.
in the wrong places. They only stay where they want. Where I want them to be. They're on my.
And you start doing that crazy
I
walk.
saved a spider today. I was getting my cucumber, and he was not giving up my cucumber. And I was like, dude, I don't want to kill you. I want you to stay here and keep killing the bad bugs, but you got to get off my cucumber. I'm taking it with me. He was big too. He was not huge, but he was a pretty good size. He was not backing down. He wasn't scared of me.
It's like, bring it, lady.
Yeah, he was. He was like, I goes here first. That's mine. This is my cucumber. I've got a good deal going here. These bugs come right to me. Good gig. All right, I'm gonna use up what's left of my brush over here. I'm just gonna add little bits of greenery down. Well, I am totally off camera there, huh? I don't know. Somebody zoomed in. I don't know. Somebody zoomed in, didn't tell me.
That guy should be fired.
It's all right. I don't pay him anyways, so. Get what you pay for.
I had maybe I had 2 chocolate chip cookies.
Are you coked up on chocolate right now?
Oh, yeah.
As always. All right, I think that's good. So we got our background. So this is done. And it's really cute. I like it. I like it so far. It's definitely, more minimalistic. It's not, haven't gone too crazy with the details. So keeping it pretty simple. I'm going to get a little bit. What time are we? Oh, we're already at an hour. Shoot.
Yeah.
Looks like I'm never going to get.
No, I go to bed. It's a hard
true.
stop for me at 9, so you
That's true.
You can keep painting.
You've already
And you're fine. I've
already eaten,
Yeah.
so you're fine.
I'm happy over here.
He's good.
I'm where that saying comes from, fat, dumb, and happy.
I would not be saying that.
I do.
Okay. There we go. I just want it a little bit brighter right there. Let's get our stonework on. So I'm going to go ahead and use the, before I do anything though, I want to do this. Sorry, I just thought of this. I need to clean this up right here. So just going over that a little bit where the ivy went over the top. Clean that up. Come on, cover. Okay. I think I can go ahead and start with this brush. This is about the size of the stones that I'm going to be doing, the bigger ones at least. So I'm going to get the yellow oxide and my unbleached titanium. And then I want to add kind of a gray to it. So I'm going to get a little bit of black. And I can use all these colors that I've got going on here. So I'm going to have gray and burnt umber. Ooh, that's a good color. So I'd had that yellow and a little bit of black. It's got some burnt sienna in it. That'll be a good, yeah, that's great. So I'm going to use this in my shadow areas to do my darker stones. So these stones are pretty random. So there's a couple of different ways of doing stones. So what you could do is you could go through here and we could do the whole thing with texture. instead of doing this dark background like we did. Or we could do the background first, and then we could do the whole thing with random texture, and then you could go back in through and do outline each individual rock, which I've done it that way before, or do it the way I'm doing it here, where I'm kind of actually piecemealing it in and patchworking in these rocks and leaving a little bit of border. So either way is totally fine. It just kind of however you want to do it. This is a really crazy rock wall, so these rocks are all different sizes and shapes and jumbled up, so it makes it pretty easy to do it this way. You know, you can just kind of dab in and do kind of random shapes and leave spaces, just a little bit of space there for the dark. Border, but you don't have to leave a really big border, because what we're going to do is we're going to go back and outline these again. So I'm just going to go quickly here and do them fairly random shapes. Changing my brush so that I'm doing some sideways and some long. Keeping them mostly vertical. You can see, you know, they're mostly kind of oriented that way.
Got another substitute question.
Okay.
Substitute for unbleached titanium.
Titan Buff is the golden version, and then you can just use white and add a little bit of brown to it if you don't have either one of those. So.
That might be on my cheat sheet. Let me see. I forgot about my cheat sheet.
Yeah, you should have those.
I have a cheat sheet somewhere.
No. What'd you do with it?
Let's see, I have Angela's Favorite Gray, QBO, Raw Umber, Teal, and Unbleached Titanium right here.
Yeah.
Yellow Oxide, white, and a little bit of burnt umber.
There you go. Done.
Who's the artist now?
Dun, dun, dun. Okay. I do like these kind of crazy shaped rocks that are in here, so I want to kind of replicate that a little bit more. So I'm going to go back here and kind of combine some of these to make bigger stones every now and then. Okay. And again, I'm not using the same color every time, so as I'm kind of dipping back in, I'm getting different colors each time so that I've got a variety of colors and values happening. And then I can come back in with my black and kind of do some little spacing. Once I get that kind of in, this is all going to be green up here, so I'm not too worried about any of this. I'll go ahead and put a couple in, but for the most part, this is all going to be covered by green. Okay, let's do this side. There is on the inside of the stone, these are kind of smaller and they're slightly angled up towards our vanishing point, but again, because these are so kind of crazy in all directions, it's not as important. Just There's at least like 2 layers of stone here, though they're very small, so we're only seeing like the side of them and little bits and pieces of them from these edges. See that? Do you see it? You watching, Mark? No, he's not.
Thanks for calling me out.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that, man, you're at 299 plus.
We are. We should be
just
hitting
short.
300,000 this week. So we're going to be doing a bunch of giveaways for my 300,000 subscriber milestone. Thank you to those who've subscribed. And if you haven't already, please do help us get to 300,000. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Or don't just do it for that, but, you know, if you like it.
we got
what
a
we're doing.
Poo to give away.
We got what?
What?
What'd you say?
I was just listing things that we have to give away.
Oh, what did you say?
Maybe Cavapoo.
Oh, God. We're not giving away our dog. He's being super cute today.
Okay.
You're gone all day, so you don't get to.
I'm working. He's sleeping.
If you don't hang out with me during the day, then you don't have anything to say. He's my buddy.
I'll show everybody what he's doing right now. I mean, I'm working my butt off over here.
His job is to be cute and to snuggle with me. That's his job. And he does a very good job of it.
I mean, those used to be my jobs too.
Well, when you're home. I know, how dare you go to work, but it is me alone in the house.
So there it is. That's what's going on right now.
I know, he's so cute. He's been tired today. He had a rough Sunday. We traveled yesterday. He's literally slept all day today and yesterday just about. We drove for 2 hours to see my son, and this is the first time Fitzpickle had been in the car for that long, and he did not like it, but he did all right. He freaked out when he saw my son's cat, though. Oh my gosh. He wanted to play with that cat so bad. We were having to hold, like, almost strangle himself to try to get to that cat. And the cat was just super chill. He was just like, what? What's up, bro? And, like, Fitz is like, oh my God, it's a cat. Reminded me of, like, Elf when he's like, Santa. Yeah. That was Fitzpickle with the cat. He was like,
it's like a different cat.
It's a cat.
It's a black cat. Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh, I've never seen one of those. He looks so fun. I think we could be friends. Let's go. Let me go. I know. I would have totally, he wouldn't have heard it. He just wanted to play, but he would have just jumped all over it, thinking it was like a dog, you know, where the dogs are like, okay, yeah, but not a cat. No, you can't really do that with a cat. Dude. I don't think it would have gone over well, even if the cat was chill. All right, so now doing the front part of the arch with a little bit of blue in my mixture here. There's just like a little bit of blue in some of these stones. Isn't that pretty? And it ties in with the sky, so it's always good to kind of use your sky color in other places whenever you can. Sky or background, whatever. And use it in our arch here. Yeah, so that was our weekend. Our oldest son turned 30, which cannot be true. I don't know. I don't know when that happened. He's not allowed. apparently we're old now. So I don't know when that happened.
Remember you got that thing from AARP in the mail?
I did.
Yeah, that's when
I threw it away.
we burned it.
I did. I burned it. Okay, this chair is going back.
Get behind me.
What?
Get behind me.
Yeah, exactly. I am not ready for that. Although, if it gives me discounts, I might consider it. I didn't really think that through. Do I get a discount? Okay, well, maybe. I don't know. We'll talk. All right, so now I'm going to go on top of these and just add highlights. And I'm barely brushing through. So, again, used kind of a mid to dark tone for the first layer of my stones. And now I'm going to add highlights to them. I really don't need to be doing this on all of them, but getting a little carried away here. Okay, I need to keep going here because I'm running out of... I'm going to take a time. We're okay on time. We're all right. I'll try to keep it under 2 hours on weekdays just because I know everybody has work and stuff. It'll be Mark talking to him. Turns into a pumpkin at 9 at night. So.
Well, it's more like 8:50 now.
8:15, yeah.
No, 50, not 50.
8:50, okay.
Mm-hmm. Someday it'll be 8:15. Yeah, but dinner at 4.
Dinner at 4. Oh gosh. Maybe one of these days we'll get to where we're sleeping at the same time.
I don't know about that.
Well, I'm hoping that when you actually don't have to get up at 4 in the morning, that you're not going to anymore.
Oh, for sure. You know, I usually sleep until 6 or so on the weekends.
Well, I know, but I'm just like hoping that maybe you'll sleep in like, closer to when I sleep in, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
No.
Okay, so maybe, like I said, we can like get a little...
Too much of the day will be gone by then. I mean, the chickens need milking.
Yeah. Get a little bit more yellow here. I feel like I'm missing out on some yellow opportunities. So, yeah. See, hopefully one of these days you'll get to
yeah,
with me full time.
Someday, yes, for sure.
I think it'd be fun.
It will be.
The pandemic kind of made us, gave us a little taste of what that'll be like, and we didn't hate each other when it was over, so it was all right. I think we'll get along just fine.
Yeah, I believe that is true.
I think it'll be okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm using a little bit darker colors. I kind of went a little light on these ones, which is fine. They're lighter, but I kind of don't have that mid-tone that I need. So going a little bit darker with the rest of these, and then we'll add our light tones to them. Most of this is under the ivy and up in here, so we can do some stones, but this will be all covered up for the most part. And then this is just as random as you want to make it. So if you want it to be more uniform, I'm kind of making mine a little bit more uniform than they are in the picture. So I can get back in here and kind of add some smaller rocks and different things in different places to change up the shape so they're not so square, because they're really not very square. Okay, there we go. I feel like they came in a little bit right here, so I might bring these out just a little bit. Okay, and then all of this in here has just got the same kind of random stones. Lots and lots of little stones. So, but it's fun to do when you've got a texture brush like this, because you can just kind of barely drag it on the canvas, and it kind of gives you, especially if you've got this nice dark background, it gives you a nice kind of broken up line, so it looks like stone really easy to mimic stone, I find, with this technique. Just a stiff bristle brush and a little bit of dry brushing, you're good to go. I'm gonna wet these down because these are starting to dry in my setting out the side there. I don't want them to dry with paint in them. That paint is pretty wet right there. See how it's going on more solid? So if I take the moisture out of my paint brush, then I'll get a more broken line like I want. I don't want it that solid. What you doing, Fitzpickle? Going over to see Dad. Puppy, what you doing? You at my feet? Being a good boy. Okay, show him now. Look at that cute face. Oh, he wants out. Okay. He wants back in. He's like, wait, no, I don't want you to close me out. I just want to come out here and get a drink of water or something. So I'm putting little stones between the stones here. What?
And then he wasn't there.
And then he wasn't there. He knocked again and left. Okay, so this is all bush here. All right, so that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and I'm going to use the let me think. I'm going to go ahead and just do it with the angle brush. I was going to use the liner brush to go around the stones, but I think I'll just glaze and do the between the stones all in one fell swoop with the angle brush here. So I'm going to get a little bit of glaze. So it's fairly dark here. I'll start out with a fairly dark glaze, and I'm going to go around the stones and define them. Use the edge of the brush there to to go around the stones. Just really quickly kind of going around them, not being too careful here. See how that defines them really well though. Kind of all of a sudden you can kind of see the difference, separation between them. And go ahead and do these ones that are like along this front edge here. And we already pretty much did them over here a little bit. There's some that didn't get done, so we can come back through here and go between them. And then right here along the edge, it's really dark. So I'm going to go through here and go over the top. But I don't want to cover it completely, so you can see how it's see-through. There, I've just darkened up that line between the stones there so that that area is darker. Do the same thing over here. Make sure these stones are underneath that are dry because we just put them down, so just make sure they're dry before you do this. And then right in here where I'm going to put my greenery, it's really dark right in here. And I can do this again later if I need to, if this is not dark enough. So, because we don't know exactly where that greenery is going to go yet. But let's go ahead and define this so you can see the difference between the part that we've defined and the part we haven't defined. It looks kind of blurry over here, so we'll get this darker, and we'll just go back through here and between these stones. I've already got a little bit of an indication. I think that's, to me, it's easier to do it this way because one, you can use the brush width to kind of define your stones. So they all end up being kind of similar size. They look a little bit more uniform. And then two, by having these little bit of darker, between your stones, then this makes this part go faster because you already can see where they should go, so you don't have to go through and draw them in. I mean, the first part's actually faster if you do the whole background with the same texture, but then you don't get the same kind of definition between individual stones. Sometimes you can I don't know. It's like I said, there's different ways of doing it, so it's not like right or wrong way to doing it, but this is how I found to be the most efficient. Takes a little bit time in the beginning, but this part goes a lot faster when you're glazing and going between the stones and stuff. All right, so now I'm kind of glazing on top of the stones some. You can see in places where, I'm kind of adding a little bit of darker along the bottom mostly, or, just some of these, just kind of giving them a little bit of definition. It kind of rounds them out if you want to. If you want to keep them looking flat, then just kind of do a more like solid, almost a line of shadow. And if you want to round them out, then you kind of do a softer blend up into your over the stone, so they'll look more rounded. So if you kind of go angular like this with your shadows, then it makes that stone look like it's sheared off. But then if I go in here and blend out this edge and soften it, then it makes that stone look rounded. So there's two different ways. So that's a round stone and that's a sheared off stone. And you can do both or, whatever. But because you'll see both in a wall like this. You know, some rocks will have the front edge will be a little bit more rounded than others. These are all fairly flat, though, I should say. So I would probably keep them fairly angular.
For those of us not paying attention, are you using any glazing liquid or anything?
Yes, I'm using glazing liquid and my... What are you saying? For those of us not paying attention, including you.
Well, yeah, me. First of all, because somebody asked, and I have no clue. I wasn't watching, really. Don't ask me. I mean, she's sitting like 5 feet from me.
Silly you. You thought he was actually watching me paint?
They're new.
Yeah. Mark doesn't know what's going on. He's in there chatting. He's here for the comic relief and to try to keep me on camera. His one job.
That I don't do very well.
That you do really well.
I do okay.
You do all right. You get distracted, just like me. I may have burned another quesadilla. I'm not going to say. I'm just saying. I'm pretty...
A hat trick?
I think I may have gone outside and... What did I do? I can't remember. Oh, my plants were dying outside. I noticed that the plants... I was cooking. Okay, so in my defense, the pan was taking a long time to cook, to heat up. So I put the tortilla on and I started it up. And then I went to the window to wash my hands. And then I looked out the window and noticed that the pots out on the back were dying. The flowers weren't getting watered. And so then I went outside, as you do, while you're cooking quesadillas.
So
And came inside to the smoke detector.
Everybody better hurry up and paint this tutorial right now because I'm deleting it, so our insurance agent doesn't know anything about this.
Shouldn't be allowed in the kitchen, is what I'm thinking. I think that's what's like. I don't know. I have no explanation for why I would do that. I have like a 2-second attention span, obviously. Okay, I'm getting some of the burnt orange here because I want a little bit of this reddish tone now. I'm just going to glaze in some of that. So, yeah. No. All right. Moving on. Just, yeah, like you said. Thankfully, you can see why I got frustrated because the pan does take forever to keep going.
So did the smoke alarm go off?
It only went off after I came inside. So it was only smoking. It wasn't flaming this time.
We're definitely deleting this evidence. So the insurance guy doesn't know about this.
It wasn't flaming. It was just really, really black.
Okay, so from now on, you're only allowed to cook in the fireplace. Okay, that's the only place you can cook.
All right.
The fireplace.
Hey, that worked for me.
Good luck trying to make
I do it bad enough, you won't ask me to cook anymore. So, that's my plan.
More takeout, I guess.
Okay, so that's number 2 for this year. So we'll just see. Hopefully there won't be any more quesadilla incidents. Okay, glaze and burnt umber, burnt sienna here. I'm sorry, burnt umber and black. And yeah, and so I'm just going to glaze up from the bottom here. It's a little dark, so if you get it too dark like that, I'm just going to take a paper towel while it's still wet and just dab off.
I'm going to have to make a workplace safety video for you. In this scenario...
You're making the quesadilla.
Betty's making
the pan isn't taking a long time. She goes to wash her hands.
And she sees a butterfly.
And she sees does she go outside and
Chase the butterfly?
Chase the butterfly? Or does she remember that she's cooking something on the stove? And yeah. I know. It's scary. It's really scary sometimes what my brain does. Like that I just did not even remember. I mean, until I walked back in, I was like, the dogs were freaking out. And I was like, what? And then I'm like, look over and, see the smoke coming out from the... Oh my gosh. Sorry, it's just bad. Flowers were involved. That's my only defense. That's all I'm saying. I was in defense of the flowers. All right, there we go. So we got nice dark here. I need to darken up this upper area here. This is dry enough now because of the greenery here. Anywhere where the greenery is going to be, there's going to be dark underneath. So just make sure that you've got nice dark shadows all up under here where that greenery is going to be coming down.
People are suggesting you use a slow cooker for your quesadillas.
I don't know. I don't know. I probably need, I'm sure there's probably like a quesadilla-matic, where you just like stick your quesadilla in and pull the lever down and just let it cook and then it stops cooking when it's done. That's what I need because I obviously have an issue with quesadillas. They're so yummy though. I can't, it's like my favorite lunch. Super fast. All right.
So real quick, when you did the shading, you were using more glaze on that?
I was.
Okay.
Yes, because you want to be able to see those stones through it. If you have it too thick, you won't be able to see those stones, and that's not, you don't want that. So I do think now that I'm looking at this, I think I want some greenery going on back in here. I think it's too open. So I'm going to go ahead and bring some greenery down over this. I've got no green left dry, so I'm going to spray all this. What?
So in defense of everybody, I was kind of distracting you during that portion there. So how did you do the glaze with the dark colors again?
Burnt umber, black, and the glaze.
Okay.
That's it.
And just make kind of like a wash almost. Okay.
Yeah. I mentioned it like 3 or 4 times.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I was
Everybody was
talking
talking.
I was talking about non-art things. And
Right.
so.
It's distracting.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And of course, when I could talk about stupid things, I'm not saying a word.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll be quiet.
When I'm doing stuff like this, we're going to be real quiet.
Right, during the paint clearing.
No.
So while she's doing that real quick, patreon.com/AngelaFineArt.
Yes.
Traceables.
We'll have a traceable for this.
Bonus content this Sunday is the bonus video, right?
It is. We're going to be painting a really fun vase in a flower or in a window. So vase of flowers in a window. And got some tulips and lilacs, I think. It's going to be really pretty. So, yeah, if they go to Patreon, they can see, or any of my social media will have my schedule for this year, or this month, I should say. And you can see that upcoming Crowdcast video. And if you click on the link, it'll take you to Crowdcast. And then if you click on the link from Crowdcast, it'll take you to my Patreon. So you can do it that way, or you can just click on my Patreon there, like Mark put up. All right, I'm gonna get some green. So I mixed the burnt umber and the yellow, the green, the phthalo green, and then a little bit of yellow oxide here to tone it down slightly. And I'm gonna kind of keep it fairly light to start with. And I've got this Stippler brush, so I've loaded it up way too thick, but I'm going to have a little bit of both colors on here, and I'm just going to kind of tap in along behind here And since I did not do this first, I'm going to have to be careful not to go over my stone wall. But I think it should be all right. So just a little bit of greenery up here, like a little light greenery back here. And then if you want to do like a darker, you can get that green and burnt umber, and I'm going to do the darker like over here. I'm going to turn my brush upside down so that I'm getting just the tip of the brush kind of tapping down. I think I want a little bit more green. I'm going to get a little bit of the burnt or the Quinacridone burnt orange. Oh, okay.
Somebody has to see it.
Oh, this is the finished leopard from the other day. So Mark said somebody was asking to see it. So yeah, he turned out really cute. It's on a larger canvas than I normally use, so get my lap there. Yeah, he turned out really good. I like him. That was a 5-week video, so we did 5 times, so about 10 hours, maybe a little bit more than 10, because a couple of times we went over 2 hours to do them. So yeah, that's one of the Patreon videos for the $10 level. So we do it, what's called a challenge image. Okay, and and that was the one for this month. So it was actually June's. So we went over a little bit into July. And we'll be starting on July's one this Thursday. And we should be able to finish July's this month, hopefully. So just doing kind of random greenery there coming up from the top. So look, and then we'll put a couple branches in here. And then let's go ahead and use this down here. And we'll use that dark color to fill in our bush that's right here. And I'm really kind of pressing down fairly hard there. And this is really dark in this corner, so I'm going to go ahead and stipple, but I'm going to do it fairly dark down here. We've got some greenery happening, and it's kind of coming up over. And I've got this lighter color on here, so I'm going to grab a little bit of that, and I'm just going to kind of pull down as I do, so I get kind of like a leaf shape to this. By changing the way I lay the brush down on the canvas, I can kind of change the shape of the leaves that I do. So if I do them all kind of just with the tip, I can get kind of a random bushiness. But then if I set it down with a fairly good amount of paint and kind of pull, I can get like bigger leaves like that. Or like I said, I don't, with this brush, I would suggest not using the full brush unless you're filling in a large area. So, if I'm filling in a large area, I can use the full brush. But if I'm doing the highlights and things, and I try to use the full brush, I'm going to get this round dot, which is not necessarily going to look like you want it to. So if I'm coming back over here and wanting to highlight it, I'm going to tilt my brush forward so that only the tip is touching, and then I'm going to get that. So you can't really see it. Get a little bit more white. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's hard to see on that dark, but you get the idea. All right, moving on. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that on here since I already have it in my brush. So just getting a little bit bigger. If I kind of pull just slightly as I'm tapping, I can get these kind of bigger leafy looking things happening. And let's go ahead and do it down here on the ground. There's these things that are trailing down here. These are bigger plants, so you know I could use the brush like I did before if you want to, and do these with that. It's up to you, however you want to do your greenery. So, but I'm gonna, because these are kind of like bigger leafy plants in here.
So could you quickly kind of
Than yellow. So the undertones are more green or more blue. And then the green shade has got a little bit more of a green undertone. So when you mix it, it's already kind of leaning towards a green, and versus the blue one has got more of a turquoisey undertone. So when you mix it, it's going to make a really beautiful turquoise. But if you want a bright green, you can still get it with that color. That's why they're pretty much interchangeable to me. They're basically kind of the same undertone, mass tone color. They just have slightly different leanings, you know. So, but you can really pretty much mix the same colors with both of them. I just, when I know I'm going to want a color, like a lot of greens that are a little bit on the blue side, then I might, you know, start with that, the blue. Phthalo blue green shade, sorry. Okay. I'll show them on the chart. There's phthalo green blue shade, and there's phthalo blue green shade, so, or yellow shade. So there's the yellow on this one and more blue on this one. So you can see the difference there. They're very close, but just slight difference. So when I'm using this one, I know that if I want a little bit more of a yellow green, I just have to add a little bit more yellow than I would if I was starting with the phthalo green yellow shade. They'll still make the same colors, they just mix a little bit different. I don't love that, so I'm going to leave that and let it dry, and I'm going to probably come back in with my brush and do some brush on there because I don't like that. All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and use the brush, I think, for all of this. And I think I'm going to, I'll use the big brush, I guess. Ooh, we are really getting late, aren't we? All right, let's get going here. This is going to be fast, though. We're almost done. The last little bit here. So mixing in burnt umber, burnt sienna, phthalo blue, phthalo green, or ultramarine blue. I'm sorry, phthalo green, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, burnt umber. Here, just making a really dark green. And I'm going to tap it in all over in here, over the edge. And it's pretty transparent right now because I haven't used it. So if I want it to be more opaque, I need to add a little bit of black. That'll help it, see, that'll help it cover. So if I don't want it transparent, which I don't. So I need to do that and bring some over here, some down here over the top. And literally just tapping straight down on this so that it's creating my leaf shapes for me. You could make this into a bush that had flowers too. I thought about doing that. I almost did, but I just decided to go ahead and leave it with the green. And then you could choose to, if you wanted to make this like a wisteria or something like that, you could add purple flowers, or I've got several tutorials that show different things like that. So different vines of different kinds. So I'm going to make a mid-tone here. Use this yellow, phthalo green yellow, or cadmium yellow light here, and I'm going to dab in. This is a little bit light to start. I'm going to go a little bit more medium here. There we go. But I've got both colors on my brush now, so I can kind of get both going on here at the same time. A little bit of light and a little bit of dark. And then our lighter color is going to be at the very top. So the key to this kind of painting is to make sure that you're leaving plenty of this dark showing. If you cover it up too much, then you don't have that depth that we're looking for. So just kind of keep in mind, look, when you get going, it's easy to just kind of pat, and, cover an entire little area really quickly, because this goes pretty fast. And I've done that multiple times and had to go back and add more dark. So just kind of keep an eye on that when you're doing this, just to kind of make sure you're not doing too much of the light color over your dark too quickly. Keep an eye on it every now and then. Just kind of stop and look at it and go, okay, I still need a little bit more or whatever. But this area back in here is not getting a whole lot of light, so I'm just going to do a few. It's mostly along this edge here that I'm seeing the light color happening, where the sun's peeking around the edge of the ivy. But most of this area is pretty dark, so I'm just going to use this mid-tone color in these areas over here. All right. And then get that yellow, that bright yellow, and some white. Really make a nice light color. Go right up along that top edge right there. And these ones I'm kind of making a little bit flat, so I'm kind of setting my brush down and kind of pulling to the side a little bit to get like a little more of a flat topped leaf. And then some of these I'm just going to pull down, makes that triangular shape. So just vary it up. Okay, now let's go ahead and do a few right in here. Maybe the light's catching these ones. Okay, that's good. And then, there's actually, I need to do a few over here. There's actually a few of those really light ones over here too. Just a few. And I can kind of use the brush and drag it and create like little lines and things too. I want to lead the eye around and maybe bring out my greenery out over the edge just a little bit so it's not so in line, like kind of lead it out So it's got a little bit more of a random shape. Okay. Let's do these ones down here that I didn't really like. Okay, sweeping that, getting some of this lighter color, mostly white here. Just a little bit of, even a little bit of blue in it. And just gonna pull down and create those kind of long leafy shapes that I'm seeing. There we go. All right, and then in this area here, I'm going to go ahead and use this smaller brush here. A little bit of the blue, a little bit of this green, so it's just a slight different tone, and just tap in my greenery and through here. And using the blue also makes it look like it's shadowed, so having that little bit of blue tone in our green will help it look like it's in the shadowy area. Same thing with over here. So these two are kind of more of our shadow bushes. There, and then just put in some tree branches and we're done. A little bit of black. Make sure you thin this out really good. It doesn't have to be really obvious branches, just a little bit of branches there. Okay. I think while I'm gonna make sure that this pathway under here is really shadowed. So just right in here, just gonna add a little glaze of black right up underneath there and kind of across our path here. A few speckled shadows just with the edge of my brush. Right up under here. And make sure that you can go back in here and kind of glaze over the edges if you need to. Of any of this that's too dark or too bright or whatever. And also underneath any of this greenery here that, like, I think this needs to be a little bit more shadowed on our rock here. So I'm just gonna kind of glaze down over some of these areas here. We already did it, but you know, if you need any, like, you know, it'll really like make it more dimensional if you kind of glaze those back. So I'm going to add a little bit of burnt sienna to right there. Just kind of shadow that inner arch just a little bit right there as it comes down. You can shadow. You can get as fancy with this as you want to be. So pretty happy with this overall. I'm gonna go ahead and shadow just a little bit more on my walkway, just like random little bits of shadow across there. And I like it. It turned out pretty cool. Not too hard, I don't think. There's a lot of, you know, there's just kind of building on the steps is the main thing. And I'm going to sign it with my paint marker. I added the ones that I could find. I could only find the white and the black, I think, on Amazon, but I added them to my store. So if you're interested in finding the paint markers here that I'm using, those are on my Amazon shop. Link down in the description. Ooh, it just spit all over. Well, it's catching on the canvas here. I'm just going too fast. Go. Super chat.
Super
Excellent.
chat. Chat on. Excellent.
Excellent. Super chat.
All right.
Sorry, we're in a weird mood. Obviously, it's late.
Yes. So last week, after we had gone off air, we had a super chat donation from
Aw.
Christy. And so I'm just catching up with that. She said, I
Christy.
love watching and learning from you, Angela. Thank you for your gorgeous paintings.
Aw. Thank you, Christy. I just
Yeah.
noticed some plants over here that are covering this, so I'm just going to add some while you're talking.
Okay. And then let me get to this week's super chats. Please hold while I go through some other random pictures I took. The first one was from Michael. He says, thank you for sharing the years of experience and that he's learned a lot from both of us.
Wow, thank you, Michael. That's
So again, I'm not sure
awesome.
what he learned from me, but okay. And then from Patty, she says, I love Tuesday nights and hopefully Saturdays again soon. Best TV on TV.
aw. Thank you,
Thank
Patty.
you, Patty. And then Colleen had a exercising avocado, looks like.
Nice.
No special message there, but thank you very much, even
I
though
like avocados.
avocados are.
They're awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you. She knows.
And then J.A. donated, no special message, but
Wow, you
she's
guys
from
are
the
sweet tonight.
Nova Scotia area, so she's giving
Aw.
us some of that Oak Island money,
Nice.
treasure money there.
Yeah, maybe we can come visit.
Yeah, we'll go digging with her.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they allow that.
Yeah, so again, thank you to J.A., Colleen, Patty, Michael, and
Wow,
to,
you guys are very generous tonight. Thank you so much.
I forgot the name already from last week. Hold on. Why do I take so many stupid pictures? Christy.
Thank you, guys. That's so sweet.
So thank you for supporting
Super
the channel
sweet.
that way. And like we said earlier, the patreon.com and also the vendor links below.
Yes. All right. I'm gonna touch up right here, just these little bits that spit around here, just kind of. It actually doesn't bother me that much, but it might bother somebody, so you can just touch it up if it happens to you. Hopefully, you go a little slower than I did there. All right. I like it. I like just the green. It's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of relaxing, soothing. That's the word. Like, I want to go there. You just like sit in a chair over here and hang out. Have some tea. Read a book. Maybe there's a hammock.
Well, I don't know about read a book, but I mean,
You're on board for the rest of it?
yeah.
Okay.
You had me up until book. And then,
Yeah, maybe not. All right.
yeah.
Whoops. All right, there's the dog. Time to go. Thanks, guys, so much for hanging out with us yet again. And I'm just noticing there's like this glow back here. So let's go ahead and do that really quick. I know I said I was going, but I want to do that. I want to show you how to do that.
For all those people who left, they're newbies.
They know. Yeah, Mark knows better.
Yeah, the
Every
true
time I do
fans
this,
are hanging in to see this
They already
part.
knew that I wasn't done. So
They're
like,
not fooled.
They weren't fooled at all. Okay, so I'm getting yellow and my zinc white. And the zinc white, because yellow, the titanium white is so saturated that if I use titanium white, it had a better chance of covering everything up. The cadmium yellow is also saturated, but it having the titanium white in here and a bunch of glaze, it'll help. Okay, so I'm just going to start in here and just kind of do like this, and I'm just going to go over everything in this area. And if it's still not quite light enough, which I think this is probably not quite light enough, I'm just going to go ahead and get the zinc white and do like this. And it's actually kind of over the top of this too. It's sort of hazing everything out a little bit, and hazing in a good way, not the bad kind. So everything a little bit hazy there. I'm going fairly thick with the zinc white here. Okay. Just adding that little bit of glow. Now, you don't have to do that, but I kind of think it's kind of cool because it gives it that more dreamy effect. So you can leave that out if you don't want to, but having all these good depth to our background will help if you do this, because then everything will kind of still make sense. All right, I feel like it's like leaning in a little bit, but I guess it's just the trick of the camera. But see that? I don't know if you can see the difference, but it's got a little bit of a haze here. I'm going to take it off right here though. I don't want it on this guy because I want him to be a little bit darker right in there. So I'll just kind of keep it in this area right here. All right, that's it for real this time. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend, rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next Tuesday. We're going to be painting, I don't know what, but if you're part of our Patreon crew, we will be painting on Sunday. So hopefully you'll join us for that. And keep an eye on my social media this week because we're going to be doing our giveaway probably this weekend or in the next couple of days. Once I hear from my sponsors what they want to give away, Fredrix is already going to be giving away some cases of canvas. So the canvas that I'm using today, they're going to be giving away some of these for our viewers. So thank you to them. And to Princeton, I haven't heard back from them yet, but they're always really generous with their giveaway stuff too. So, oh, seashell. Oh, seashell. That'll be fun. That'll be kind of part 2 in our seashell. So if you did the other seashell that we did, which I don't have anymore because I sold it, but we'll be doing like a second version of a seashell on the beach. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So,
but it's already
join us for that.
Already linked up on your YouTube channel.
It is. So you can click on my name or social, and like I said earlier, on my social media, I have the entire schedule for July and August scheduled. So you can check those out, and it has all the links. My social media guy, Brennan, he does a great job of that, and he posts all the links to all the videos and the dates and times and everything, so it makes it really easy to find them. So check those out. Facebook, Patreon, Pinterest, or not Pinterest, Instagram. Those will have it. So all right, thanks guys, have a great week, and we will see you next time. Bye.